The Summer Research Institute is a program at Sauk Prairie High School that connects local researchers to students, and then the students get an opportunity to help them out. The institute was started last year and it had just one area of study, but this year there are 3 different areas for students to explore.
The first area of study was the Monarch monitoring program, which was part of the institute last year as well. This program takes place at Prairie, which is a remnant prairie, and uses 4 citizen science surveys from the Monarch joint venture and the Integrated Monarch Monitoring Program. The mentor is Amy Chamberlain.
The first survey is the Blooming Plants and Milkweed Survey, which occurs once a month and records the blooming plant species in order to see the available food and nectarine sources for the monarchs. We look into the monitoring frame spaced evenly throughout the plot and record what plants are blooming and where. We also count the milkweed that is growing within the plot.
The second survey is the Monarch Egg and Larva Survey, which counts the number of milkweed within the monitoring frames. We check each milkweed plant for eggs and larvae. Each day we continue monitoring until we have counted 100 milkweed stems. This survey is conducted every week.
The third survey is the Adult Monarch Survey, where one of us would walk the perimeter of their monitoring plot and count the number of monarchs that entered our inner 5-meter and outer 10-meter boxes. The rest of us followed closely behind to help count the miscellaneous monarchs. This survey is conducted every 2 weeks.
The last survey is the Monarch Survival and Parasitism Survey, where a 5th or 4th instar is taken home by one of the interns and reared. We hope the monarch emerges as an adult butterfly, which we would then release, though on occasion parasitism occurs. An example of a parasite that may kill the instar includes tachinid flies. The flies emerge from the instar as larvae and then enter into a pupal period for 1 to 2 weeks. Once they emerge as adult tachinid flies, they are frozen and sent off to a lab for further study.
The second area of study is the Birds and Mammals program. This program had 4 surveys created by Mike Mossman, a retired DNR research scientist, and Jeb Barzin, an ecologist at Private Lands Conservation LLC. This program takes place at Badger Ammunition Plant. Mike Mossman, Jeb Barzin, and Angus Mossman all worked with students. So the first survey was taking data on birds. We would wake up early to observe the birds while they were active. We usually spend about 100 minutes looking at one plot, and within that 100 minutes you would have to make sure to go to each point within the plot. And then you would record if you heard a bird singing or someone flying, or if you recognized their presence at all.
This survey took data on the litter and the density of the plants. At each point within a plot, we would take 4 measurements on the plant density. To do this, we held up a large stick about 4 meters away from the point and marked how much of the stick we could see. Then we measured the litter by holding a ruler at ground level and marking how much of it was covered. This survey tells us about the habitat that the mammals and birds live in.
The third survey was measuring more plant density and plant species. During this survey, we put down a 1x1 meter frame in a randomly determined spot. We then wrote down all of the plant species that were there and determined the percentage of plants covering the ground. We also determined the percentage of litter covering the ground. This survey also tells us about the habitat the mammals and birds live in.
The last survey in this area was taking data on mammals. Traps were set down 3 different lines and checked every morning and every evening for 5 days. If an animal was caught in a trap, they would be measured and recorded. They were also marked with paint to see if any of them would be recaptured. This survey was set up to see the diversity of the mammals rather than to estimate a population of a certain species.
The last area of study was related to climate change and farming practices. It also takes place at the Badger Ammunition Plant, but Dr. Allison Duff, a researcher who is part of the USDA Dairy Forage, would mentor students. However, this program did not get to take place this year due to restrictions with COVID-19.
Despite not being able to conduct any actual research, we were able to have a Google Meet with Dr. Duff. We got to ask questions about her job and career, as well as the different projects she is involved in.
Thank you so much to everyone that helped us with this program. We learned a lot and had so much fun.